Jim Castaneda was a boatswain's mate first class in the U.S. Navy when he suffered 2 strokes while on active duty.
And the way I fought it is having somebody like Sancho right next to me, pushing his own endeavors, and it helps me.
During the Pacific Trials, Jim participated in track and field.
Well, the discus event was actually phenomenal. It was pretty exciting.
Jim also achieved another goal off the field when he was honored at a ceremony on Ford Island.
Bosun mate Jim Castaneda.
It's beyond words, and I'm going to cherish this, of course, forever.
At the end of the Wounded Warrior Pacific Trials, Jim Castaneda received the first medallion of the competition.
Their capacity to grow despite trauma, to compete despite injury on a daily basis, they offer us all a role model of the human spirit and determination.
Petty Officer Jerome Johnson, Honolulu, Hawaii. Instructors and students honored the 9th Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, James Binneker, during a memorial at the Binneker Professional Military Education Center. The PME Center was dedicated in honor of Chief Binneker in 2012.
Well, really the significance is just that to remember Chief Binneker and all the things that he's done for the Air Force, for the enlisted force.
Be missed by many.
Chief Binneker served in the Air Force for more than 33 years.
He was a man who was recognized by so many as a leader, mentor, friend, and one who dedicated his life to others.
One of Chief Binneker's notable contributions was developing the performance feedback system.
Having the opportunity to be here to show our reverence for Chief Binneker, it instills a lot of pride in me.
Chief Binneker passed away on March 21st. Petty Officer Jerome Johnson, Joint Base Pearl Harbor, Hickam, Hawaii.
And their spouses to employers.
Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam and Schofield Barracks hosted the Hawaii Transition Summit, where service members had the chance to meet with nearly 100 potential employers.
Checking out what's going to happen on the other side of my contract pretty much, and seeing what kind of organizations are willing to look at me and hire me and take me on for some new challenges in the future.
One of the challenges for veterans is taking what they learned in the military and applying it to the civilian sector.
That's a common fear that we all have, including myself, that, hey, what I'm doing for these amount of years, will it translate to civilian job, civilian employment?
Secretary of Labor Thomas Perez explained why service members are an asset to employers.
You have the essential life skills, the skills of working as part of a team, the skills of working under pressure, the skills of taking a situation that's complex, and you've got time constraints, and you all figure it out. That's what employers are looking for.
During the 3-day summit, attendees also participated in workshops and panel discussions with employers. Petty Officer Jerome Johnson, Joint Base Pearl Harbor, Hickam, Hawaii.
"98% of the goods and services that we rely upon so heavily here in Hawaii, such as food, water, even the fuel that we put in our vehicles, is delivered via ships. Now let's say, for example, that there was a vessel that came into the port and they had a large oil spill or a major marine casualty. That could potentially shut down the port and restrict other vessels from being able to come in. With that in consideration, the islands of Hawaii are only able to self-sustain for approximately 3 days without that continued flow of goods and services. As such, the Coast Guard's mission is absolutely paramount. So when we go out an exam, the first thing we'll do is we'll meet with the captain and we'll discuss the scope of the exam. We'll be referencing the regulations to check both their certificates and documents, review the crew licenses, and then we'll usually split up into 2 separate groups. One group will head topside to the bridge, and the other group will head down below to the engineering spaces. Both teams will work their way towards the center. The group up on the bridge will be looking at things such as navigation equipment, indicators, life-saving equipment, and so forth. Crew down in the engineering space will be looking at things such as the steering gear equipment, the engine. Once that's complete, then we'll have the crew go ahead and move into drills. So they'll perform a fire drill for us, and then they'll roll into an abandoned ship drill. Once all of those criteria are met and to the satisfaction of the Coast Guard and within the regulations, then we'll complete the exam.
It's important for the Coast Guard to inspect the commerce coming through here because the Port of Honolulu really is the lifeblood of the Hawaiian Islands. And to be in the Coast Guard, we're charged with keeping the safety of this port, which everything else counts on. So to be that key role in that whole chain of commerce gives me an enormous sense of pride.
The Coast Guard's mission is to maintain both the safety and the security here at the port, while protecting the maritime environment and ensuring the continued flow of commerce, which is particularly vital to both the residents and tourists here in the islands of Hawaii.
So what this event is, we wanted to raise awareness for Fisher House and what we do, and I wanted to do a unique run that would raise awareness but also bring the personal name and faces back. Because each year, it's, as we get further away from it, people forget that there's a family and loved one behind them. And so what we did is we created the run, and we had a picture of each fallen service member on the boot that you're going to run past, and then after the run's over, we'll pick them up, and they'll actually be the display of 7,000 all at once.
Came out here to honor all the fallen soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. I had a couple of my buddies, they fell as well, and I just wanted to come out here and honor them today.
Grandma! Seeing all of the boots lined up and just honoring those people who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country and just pushing yourself, when you're tired, just looking at those boots is really motivating to make yourself want to keep going.
Well, this is my third year actually running this race. This is the second year that my husband's been deployed while running it. So it's the whole concept of those who have left and never made it back. So it makes it a bit more emotional for someone who's waiting on someone to come back.
My name is Chris Farley. I'm a cemetery caretaker at the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific in Honolulu, Hawaii. I went into the Navy in '82 and I became an air traffic controller. I did 6 years. Well, I enjoy being in the Navy. It teaches you discipline and how to take care of yourself. And I learned about honor, about being an American, that I'm proud of my country. As a cemetery caretaker, I take care of the grounds here, the lawn mowing and string trimming and pruning and things like that. Of course, the priority is the interment of the veterans. My parents are both buried here, and a lot of my father's friends, my family's friends, and my friends' parents as well. It's important to me personally, as a duty to our veterans that served our country and paid the ultimate sacrifice. It's an honor to do it for us as a nation. Our country appreciates that we remember our fallen. Holidays and birthdays, Father's Day, Mother's Day. I try to be the regular average visitor who comes up here and pays respect to their family. Yeah, I miss them a lot.
This is the major and the most important breeding calving ground of humpback whales in the North Pacific. A large number, we're talking over 10,000 humpback whales are going to be here throughout the whale breeding calving season, which is here, it's upon us.
Be a queue on a patrol.
We were reviewing our operations towards freeing a large whale from a life-threatening entanglement. So it's unique for both sides, both the NOAA fisheries and the sanctuary program dealing with these large whales, and with the Coast Guard side, working together, taking advantage of our different expertise, our skill sets, our resources to come together, pull those resources, and get the job done safely. We had to simulate our whale, our entangled whale. We had one Coast Guard asset, one of the 45s, be the whale.
Whale still up, fourth breath.
And tow some gear behind it, representing the entanglement. The other 45-foot vessel, Coast Guard vessel in this case, was the approach boat, getting close enough, in this case, a very important role, and that is putting a transmitter package on that whale via the entanglement, via the trailing gear, grappling it in.
Taking the shot!
And that would allow us to hold on to our whale.
Good.
So that the next day, when we had the resources and the proper conditions to safely free that whale, we could come together and do that.
To have them come teach us how to do it is an honor. I took away experience first and foremost. being able to be more comfortable in that situation will be outstanding when I run into this, or if I run into this problem.
We've had whales drag gear from Alaska, so it's very important to be prepared for this type of operation. But when you throw the 40-ton animal that's 45 feet long, it's unique enough that we need to be prepared and do these exercises, working together as a team.
Today and for every tomorrow, we owe a debt to the men and women who gave their full measure of devotion on that December 7th morning and throughout World War II. Time will not dim their glory or their deeds and their legacies they left behind. As we commemorate this day, let us rededicate ourselves to delivering to future generations the same gift of security and peace that was purchased for us by those who sacrificed so much in defense of our freedom 7 decades ago. May God bless those Pearl Harbor survivors and World War II veterans who serve as living tributes to all the things that make our nation great.